Right there. Not quite ready. We need one more person. Keep going. One person. All right, chaplains, can you have everyone come up, please? G7. But no one else is coming. Just all our community leaders. Community leaders, please come on up. All right, good morning. I am Chief Michael Bryan of the Chico Police Department, and first I want to extend my appreciation to all our community leaders for joining us here this morning. We have politicians, educators, service providers, clergy, a real cross-section of our community. There are really too many to recognize here this morning. I want to thank each and every one of you for your participation and for coming here and participating. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. So the purpose today is really to make a statement, a simple statement. A law enforcement statement, a community statement. We have all paid attention to the national and local landscape as it relates to last week's election. And I think, generally speaking, our Chico community and the greater Butte County community has responded well to that election. Our local elections were without incident. A local protest in Chico was peaceful, and we've had very few reported incidents of harassment and no reported incidents of violence that I have been made aware of as chief. That all speaks well of our communities. However, it was brought to my attention that there have been unreported incidents that have caused some concern to some in our community. So as such, as the Chief of Police, I felt it was important to reaffirm, and I have the backing of all, and I say all of my law enforcement colleagues throughout the county, that we are committed to protecting the rights of every citizen in Butte County, period. We have said that collectively as a group before, and I felt it was important to say that once again, that we protect and serve all, and all means all. With that, I'm going to call a few people to come up and make a few statements. Then we'll take questions at the end. I'm going to have first the Chico Mayor, Mark Sorensen, come up, please.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, due to some recent incidents, we did find it necessary to come together to express in a unified fashion that as a community we won't accept any signs of intimidation, which we have seen. Whether these despicable, cowardly acts are as they appear, or if they're just efforts at misdirection, it doesn't matter. Our law enforcement will pursue the perpetrators. And it's very unfortunate that some of these folks are using something as something that we celebrate as an election, as cover for some of their acts. And again, our law enforcement will pursue those acts very vigorously, and as a community, we will stand together against any acts of intimidation towards any class of people, and our law enforcement will protect, as the Chief said, all of our citizens.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Next, I'm going to have the District Attorney, Mike Ramsey, come up and say a few words. Mike.
And we want to thank the Chief of Police, Mike O'Brien, for bringing the community together and saying in one voice that this is a community of Americans that, as our President just indicated, is bigger than any one election, and bigger in the sense that it is inclusive of all. And law enforcement, the sheriff, myself, all the chiefs of police, and the associated law enforcement agencies of Butte County have always and will continue to stand tall to protect everyone. And crimes, hate crimes, have a particular priority among our officers, among our law enforcement administrators. And if there are any crimes that meet that definition of hate crimes, i.e. crimes committed against a person or place because of a bias or prejudice against that person or place, they will be vigorously investigated and prosecuted. So to all the trolls that are out there, please understand, this is an inclusive community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Next, we're going to hear from the Chico State Police Chief, John Feedy. John.
Thank you, Chief. As a representative of Chico State University and the University Police Department, I stand before you to continue our commitment to providing for the utmost in safety for our students and campus community, and to protect the dignity and respect for all our students, faculty, and staff on campus, and in partnership with the Chico PD and our law enforcement partners throughout the county. It is very important for us to continue to provide a safe place for our students, faculty, and staff through these times, and we will protect them as well as all freedom of speech efforts here and on campus. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next, we're going to hear from the Executive Director of the Jesus Center, Laura Consona. Laura.
Good morning. Thank you, Chief, for calling us together. This is the mark of a great community that we can come together, knowing probably that we are not in one agreement to how we believe or how we voted a week ago. But as I said to my staff 1 week ago this morning, I said, this is a community for all. And what we do is we take care of the ones that are outcasts, the ones that are the most vulnerable. And that list just grew. And so I know we stand, our staff, our team at the Jesus Center stand with other service providers. Our commitment is to take care and make sure that we stand up for and step into any acts of hatred or violence or any crime against any of these that are the most vulnerable. And that list, unfortunately, has grown. So you have our word that we will be with you as a community.
Thank you, Laura. I always like to end with chaplains or pastors. They do a great job of closing. I'm going to have two actually speak. The first will be Ed Hall. He's a chaplain with the Butte County Sheriff's Office. Sheriff Bodie was not able to make it. He had another commitment, but he does extend his support of what we're doing here today. But Chaplain Ed, would you mind saying a few words?
Yes, thank you, Chief O'Brien. The Sheriff's Office, we reaffirm that we're here to serve and protect. As a chaplain and senior pastor, the pastors in our churches and our community are here standing in unity for all of our law enforcement leaders, and we support all their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. And last but not least is one of my newest chaplains, representing the millennial generation, Jeff Young. Chaplain Jeff.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you to all that are here today and all the elected officials. It's really an honor to be here and to represent the millennial pastors in town, but also the generations of the millennials. Chief O'Brien asked me to share briefly on respectful dialogue in difficult conversations, something that we all could use a lesson on, I'm sure. There's no doubt that many conversations need to be had. There's a divide that cannot be fixed by angry, harsh, or distasteful dialogue. Yes, every person has a voice here in Chico. Yes, they all need to be heard. I'd like to challenge us on how we use our words. Words are our main communication tool. They deliver our thought, they provoke curiosity, they generate healing, yet they still create distrust. They break down barriers, they break down morale. They sweep us into story, they make us laugh, they make us cry, they enrage our soul, they give us excitement, they demoralize us, they give us instruction, they bring guidance, they shape us, they teach us, and yet they motivate us to action. But words have the power of life and death. Did you know that statistically speaking, your words convey about 7% of what you're trying to communicate? It's probably why we try and yell and get really loud. But it just simply does not work. The other 93% is communicated through facial expressions and the tone of your voice. Did you know that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth will speak? Did you know that the gentle answer can turn away wrath? And did you know that the words we speak can bring life and death? There is so much power in our words. Might we consider them before we release them? And in order to use our words the right way, but we must first listen. I must listen to understand and not reply. I want to encourage all of us as a community, as Chico representatives, the city we love, to cautiously use the words that we use, but at the same time, be a better listener as we move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See why I close with Jeff. Great job, Jeff. Thank you. And so now we'll take any questions for anyone up here standing before you. So do we have any questions from the audience from the media? Andre.
Andre from the Enterprise Record. Thank you, everyone. Chief O'Brien, you mentioned some recent incidents, perhaps unreported incidents. Could you maybe elaborate a little further on what those types of incidents
Yeah, the incidents that were reported to me were people yelling slurs, throwing items, that type of thing. Things that weren't reported to us, but were reported to some members in our community. And I heard that, and like I said, that causes me concern. It may not necessarily raise to the level of a crime, but when you have that kind of environment starting to fester or develop, it causes me some concern as chief, because it oftentimes will lead to something more significant.
And just a quick follow-up, does that appear to be perhaps connected to the recent election or climate that's come out of the recent election?
I think maybe the climate, that is my understanding. That's what I was told. Again, these are not incidents that we investigated because they were not reported to us, but that was told to me, yes.
Sorry. Ms. Katsona?
You mentioned that class people, vulnerable people, has grown. Could you maybe elaborate on what that means?
Well, we feel that one of the reasons we exist, and the service providers particularly who are working on behalf of mentally and physically challenged people, the homeless, those who are on the edge of our community, that with people who are being potentially targeted because of race or religious views or sexual orientation or identity, that those get added to that list. And they may not naturally have the kind of advocacy that some of these more obvious vulnerable populations have. But again, if we're going to make Chico a community for all, then we all have to stand as advocates.
Is that it? No other questions, sir?
Question to the lady here. You mentioned that the population who needs support from the city has increased recently. What do you attribute that to?
Well, again, I think why we're here is not because we're seeing necessarily evidences of that climate change, if you will, but that we're anticipating that we're not going to be immune from some of what we're seeing in the national media. And so I know personally, I'm just a bit more vigilant, particularly as a white woman of privilege, who has a lot of standing in this community, that I'm going to try to be a bit more circumspect and be steps forward sometimes when I might have pulled back or not been that advocate that I could have been. So just I'm trying to be a little better listener, I think, as our chaplain shared.
I think the whole idea is for us to be proactive with this issue and not wait for something to develop, like I said, to fester and then have some dramatic incident. Let's get out ahead of this. I'm very much a proactive kind of person. Let's get out ahead of it and stop it from happening in the first place.
I took the words out of my mouth. What measures as a community can we take to be proactive? Because you're absolutely right.
I think Chaplain Jeff hit it on the nail on the head. How we communicate with each other is very important. Laura said we stand up for those that do not often have a voice. I think those are the kind of things that make a community strong.
What strikes me is that the last meeting we had up there with the LGBTQ, there were so many times they said, we don't feel safe in this community. What proactively can we change that feeling?
What was proactive about that particular incident was that very meeting, is that we had reached out. I had some conversations with Tom Kellum, the executive director at Stonewall, and we brought that community in to have those tough conversations. I'm not afraid of having tough conversations. I'm really not, because I know the only way to fix relationships, fix issues, fix problems is to have those tough conversations. And so the proactive move in that particular example was to have that meeting.
I was thinking more like how we went into the committee with the Clean, Safe, and Beautiful, something more than just talking, some actual program that we go out to the community with.
I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, Benson, but I think the people up here are involved in a number of different ways to build bridges and make this community better. So yes, sir, in the back. Alan.
Can the police do anything about incidents that are not reported? And secondly, do reporting parties have to worry about being doxxed for ICE or anything like that?
They do not. It's hard for us. I mean, if we don't have a victim that comes forward, or we don't know about the incident specifically, obviously there's no way for us to investigate something. If someone comes forward on behalf of a victim, yes, we can take a look, but the best thing is to have that victim come forward. If they need an advocate or something to help support them, that's really a model that we use in a number of different ways in this community. But we need those people to come forward so we can then do something about it. But if we don't know about it, it's really hard for us to do something about it.
Thanks.
Tom.
So Tom Kellum from Stonewall Alliance, and I just want to say that as somebody that represents one of the communities that is feeling a lot of fear and feeling targeted at the moment, it means a lot to me that everybody showed up here today. You know, as the room was filling up, I could really feel myself get emotional about feeling the support of the community coming together. And that's enormous. And that in itself, I think, is a huge help. That so many people are feeling isolated and alone. Some people are afraid to go out of the house for what might happen. And knowing that there is support in the community, that if they do reach out, they'll get help, that they won't be, that they will be taken seriously. They won't just be laughed at because they're afraid of something. That means a lot. And so hearing everybody talk, having everybody be here is enormously supportive.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, sir.
What's the actual process people should take if they feel intimidated or if they feel like they're being targeted or something? Like, I mean,
The first thing would be pick up the phone and call us, and we could walk them through what exactly they have as far as whether it's a crime, if it's just something that hasn't quite risen to that level. But the first thing to do is to pick up the phone and call.
will there be any, like, extra staff, like, dedicated to this or anything? Or I mean, like,
We have enough staff to handle anything that I don't think we're going to get inundated with anything that we can't handle at this point, so we don't have additional staff. But we have adequate staff to handle anything that comes in right now, absolutely.
or like a point person overseeing this type?
Well, they all have to go and do dispatch, and depending on the nature of the incident, it may go to our detective bureau, maybe a patrol officer that handles it first. It just will depend on the nature of the incident. But we have staff and a process to handle each one of those. So, and Andre?
This is for you, Chief, or perhaps anyone standing up here. Have you ever participated in a conference like this following a presidential election?
Well, I haven't been here as long as some in the room, so.
Age-related.
I can tell you I have now. I don't know if anyone else wants to.
I just want to make a comment
Sure.
on that. I came from the Chamber of Commerce, but, you know, the former comment, I was thinking about the fact that it took a very short period of time for us to rally and to be here together today. And that's because we're not just coming together for this issue, we come together on every issue. So we regularly meet with each other, we share concerns, we talk about issues, we problem solve on a regular basis. So yes, this particular press conference may be related to the presidential election or the climate that we're talking about that may be creating some of these issues. But we stand together on a lot of issues, even if we sometimes don't agree specifically, we often come together. So I think this is a mark of the value system really embedded in our community and within our community leadership.
That's a good point, Katie. Thank you for that. Let's say a hand in the back, so. No?
Chief, I have something if I may.
Please, sir.
In addition to what's been said in regards to the ways in which we can support each other, I would also offer that we need to check in on each other, especially those communities who feel a little bit unsafe, and ask them how they're doing, and ask how you can support them as a community member here in Chico. One of the reasons I've chosen to stay in Chico for so many years is because I love this community and what it represents. And I, like Tom, I felt supported when I walked in as well, as I'm one of those members of the community who walk in fear at times because of things that have been said or is happening. I was teaching on Monday night, and I have a few students who were afraid to walk home. People asked, how can I help? Can I give you a ride home? So again, I say that to say, checking on each other. And the needs that we may have may differ depending on what we're dealing with and how we're receiving what's happening in regards to our society. But I also thank everybody for coming together. Let's just continue to support each other. We have a special place here in Chico, and this is an example of that.
Thank you, Greg. All right, if that's it, I want to thank everyone, particularly my community leaders that took time out of their busy days to come up and support this important issue. Thank you. I think it does speak well of this community and speaks well of this county. So thank you all, and thank you all for coming this morning, and have a great day.